I gotta say, these developers, they love their mock company names. We got gems like Lola Cola, Bebsi, Red X. Instead of KFC, it's FCC. Willows instead of Wendy's. BVS, Subpath 24/7. You can grab a bite from McReynolds, pick up a 6-pack of Pabst Red Ribbon, or stop and grab a slice from Pizza Hut. And then you can stop at the mall and grab some more food from Taco Shell. Pick up some jewelry from Stephanie & Co. Get some makeup from Euphora. Get a purse from Dewey Vuitton. We can grab a sweatshirt from Gip or Abercranberry and Fitz. Go to the theater to see the Spirit of the Opera. Get some groceries from Save Day, and grab some shoes on your way out from Converses. And my favorite one, Timberline. None of those are working for you. Why don't you swing on by Timmy Higgers? So it's safe to say, the day before, I'm not sold. Today we're talking about the day before, one of the biggest releases on the horizon for the gaming industry, especially PC, because this is only exclusive to PC. This was the most wishlisted game on Steam at one point, and has made some pretty wonky waves in the gaming world. Frustrated fans are starting to question if this thing is even real. So today, let's dive into the day before, why I'm not totally sold on it, and also why I think these developers have dug them a pretty giant hole that they're gonna have a hard time getting out of. And also, please consider subscribing while you're at it. That'd really help me out. Thanks. Now, as stated by the developers in an article with IGN, the day before is a real breakthrough for the MMO survival genre, and that it's no secret that most survival MMOs are all built on the sandbox model, where you set goals for yourself and wander around the deserted world. In the day before, we reinvented everything from the in-game goals to the ways we approach the quality of the game mechanics. Those are some pretty big words, and nothing they have shown us in the gameplay trailers leads me to believe that there is any innovation within this title. I mean, if it's going to be the next big thing in the MMO space, wouldn't you kind of give us a taste of that? I mean, how are you innovating? This just looks like a big mashup between The Last of Us and The Division. There's not anything else within this gameplay that sets it apart from those titles. Now, the only caveat being that this game is exclusive to PC, which leads to another question that we'll dive into a little bit later. You can really see the similarities within the gameplay and the presentation, the controls. It all feels very familiar. Not to mention that the open world seems much more barren than they're leading us to believe. I mean, every trailer so far has been about visuals over substance. When their response to showing substance is made, there's not much out of the way of what we've been told anyways. Like, the gameplay that we are shown after the fact, after everybody has kind of brought these issues to the surface, is nothing new, and it does nothing to reassure people that this is going to be a quality product. It only creates more doubt in the developers. Everything we've seen so far has just been pretty standard. So we got nothing new in the trailers, and these developers released their first game back in October of 2022, so they're a little new on the scene to say the least. I feel like they're procrastinating on their development time with this game because they're just way in over their heads. Their first game was called Prop Night. It is on PC, it has mixed reviews, and it's pretty much just a mashup of Prop Hunt and Dead by Daylight. But transitioning from that to a full open world survival MMO in the AAA space without giving players early access to the game is a really concerning move, and it shows a lot of false confidence within the developers. A lot of the statements that they have made over the course of this game's press releases have been nothing but more inflammatory, just garnering more distrust with consumers. Now, the industry is no stranger to small studios with big dreams, and when they set these expectations so high, rarely do they ever meet those. No Man's Sky should have been the nail in the coffin, yet somehow studio execs still see fit to lie to people. And as a result, I'm less inclined to trust a spokesperson these days, but it starts with the direction at the top. These wouldn't be issues if you would just take feedback and apply them properly and respect the source materials that you are drawing inspiration from. I don't know how many times we gotta do this. It feels like we live in Groundhog Day. Okay, now if I told you 2 years ago that this was The Last of Us 3 pre-alpha footage, you'd probably believe me. I mean, they even used an identical font in their title sequence. And despite the atrocious gamer dialogue, this game made a pretty big splash when it was first put out 2 years ago. Now, I think it's great. I want to see the little guy win. But what I don't love is when the little guy oversells you a game, and then when they're challenged on it, they complain about being a small developer. Pick your battles, man. I mean, from what we're being told, this is the next major innovation in the industry. I feel like you would kind of lead with some of those innovations at least. Zelda did a great job at doing that, leaving something under the hood for players to discover once they pick up the game, but enticing them to pick up the new title and show them why this version of Hyrule is worth picking up in 2023. And to say that this is the next biggest innovation in a space that you are totally unfamiliar with is a pretty big statement. You immediately set a very high bar when you put those words out, and they even complain about not having a PR person. It takes 10 seconds to tweet out something. You have to do something in terms of public relations, or say nothing at all, honestly, because some of the things they have said just come off as very defensive and inflammatory. But the question that this really brings to the table is why didn't they go the early access route? Now, I gotta be honest, all the gameplay we've been shown pretty much just looks like a proof of concept build rather than a full functioning game. All the mechanics that were shown in the gameplay is something that we have seen time and time again in other better games out there, which results in this looking more like a great value version of a survival MMO rather than its own standalone title. It just comes off super generic. I mean, early access gives smaller developers, which these guys complain about being, the opportunity to build the game with their audience. That way you can craft something and expectations are already set. Now, there's a beta test that is going to be happening within the next couple months. That is, if it doesn't get pushed back again, where we'll see how players react to the gameplay itself. Now, let's dive into Fntastic and just discuss their interactions with the public, because it's kind of funny to watch. Now, to start, these guys forgot to trademark their own game. Now, it wasn't up until several months before release that the creator of the calendar app filed a trademark dispute barring this game from being released. Again, just another way that they're misleading the audiences that are following this thing, people that are excited for it, people that invested their money in it, people that have invested time in covering this project. Like I said, this was the most wishlisted game on Steam at one point, so there's some excitement for it, and I see the potential. I see what can be done with this game if it is in the proper hands, and really, like, being in their hands even is not necessarily a bad thing if they were just more transparent with audiences to begin with. Oh, and the guy who filed the trademark, they're really pissed at him. They're upset that he beat them to the name the day before. The guy who created the calendar app, the things that deal with days. What? This company certainly loves the defensive angle, and I don't see this kind of ending in their favor. Not to mention, most of their staff are called volunteers. What that means, I'm not totally clear, but they have stated that some of the employees working on this game are just working out of the kindness of their hearts, because if you cared enough, you would work out of the kindness of your heart rather than us paying you. This strikes me as two guys who started up a tech company, got a publisher, and decided they wanted to make a big open world survival MMO because they have tons of experience doing that, I guess. It all feels phony. It all feels very staged, and I see it coming from a mile away, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope I am wrong, and that this game really knocks it out of the park. In response to the claims that this game is a scam, the developers had this to say: "The storm will calm down eventually, and time will put everything in its place. When the game comes out, people will finally see the truth. We don't have a marketing department at all. All of our resources go to game development, but we'll get better at communication." I would hope so, because you guys are not on the best footing with the public right now, and you have about 6 months until your game is due for release. Make a good, solid game and be honest with people, and they'll play it. My vote is for early access play. I think you guys would have a much smoother process with that, but I guess it's trial by fire. Those are my thoughts on the day before. I am not sold on this one, as I'm sure a lot of people are. It's not an original opinion, but I wanted to compile the information and some of the shadiness surrounding the studio and the game itself, so you as the buyer can make somewhat of an educated decision and choose whether this is a game that you want to support. Take that for what it is, and yeah, let me know if this is something that you're going to pick up on release day, or you already see it coming and that it's doomed for failure. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment down below. Check out my last couple of videos. Had a fun time making those, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.